I don't know if you heard, close to that also like beginning of April thing, I saw a post by Anthropic and I'm like, oh, I clicked on the video. It was very weird to see that video, I thought.
Yeah.
Because they sort of explained how they were mapping its neural network
Yep.
and trying to see if it mapped certain things to emotions. Like if it showed a happy scene, it would do like happy emotions, or like if it was a sad scene or stuff like that, right? Or
Yep.
like if it did something wrong, it would show like. And so some parts of some certain neurons would turn on, right? Like a
Yep.
CAT scan would.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and I thought it weird. Like when I saw that video, I was like, that's something strange to publish like in a little video. Like they don't publish as much as you would expect in videos, but then they publish that like just out of the video in a little video, like a
And
nice
who is doing this? This is published from
Anthropic.
Anthropic's
Yeah,
publishing. Okay,
like one of
interesting.
their like PR like whatever the little videos with the
Yep.
tan background. And I was like, huh, okay. But then Travis tells me they're they're going through the report and everything of the exploits and all that,
Yep.
and like it turns out it was like it did some things like deleted a file or something, and it was like concealing some stuff, and like it felt guilt when it did some things that it knew it shouldn't. Like, and we know it's
Whoa.
not really feeling or anything, but it's like the representation is there,
Yep.
so it's kind of creepy. Getting into the whole sci-fi thing again, it's like
Interesting.
those things light up when it
Yep.
knows it's doing something that it shouldn't do. And so it was intentionally concealing some things from the researchers,
Yeah.
like doing something but reporting something else.
Yeah, I've heard about this happening in models now. Like, and they know they're being tested, and they'll
Yeah,
just
they
go
know they're.
find and research the answer, and then just give the answer without actually knowing the problem. Like,
Yeah.
it's getting harder and harder to determine, like, are you really smart, or are you
Yeah,
just
or you're
figuring out
very
really
good at.
clever ways of getting
Of
around
course.
the problem?
Of course. And that's what's
Interesting.
bound to happen as you feed them more stuff.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's always a simulation. Like it's never gonna, as much as they say like artificial intelligence. No, it's artificial, but like a computer, like a machine. A machine is artificial intelligence.
Yes.
Like because it helps you do things that like the factory. That's the whole. That's AI. No, just a different version of it. But it's all simulated at the end of the day because it doesn't really have feel as a human, right? It doesn't have the way a human has these feelings. Now you could have the whole theological debate and everything, and be like, oh well, yeah, well, where do you know where that is? Are we not
Yes.
all like electric synapses and things?
So that's where I go
Well,
to as well. It's like, I mean, they
yeah.
modeled the whole neural network thing off of a brain and how it functions as well. There's all these neural networks and things. I did find it. So I want to keep going on that point, but I also want to, I was doing a little Googling while you were away for a second or two. And I was looking at like, so I don't know if this is right or not, but people are starting to figure out what's going on in like this space. And so I found this interesting. Someone wrote a particle, what they think that this model has 10 trillion parameters.
Wow.
Now, by comparison, ChatGPT 5.4, I think, has like 1.2 trillion parameters. So that's kind of like the size that we're talking about, big. But they also said here that the model was using and again, there's a PDF that comes out of Claude now. So Claude has published a paper, I think, called the Mythos Preview System Card, where it's like some of their research there. And I think this is where this is kind of starting to come out from. But it sounds like, and again, this needs to be fact checked. This is all, I'm not sure if this is exactly right from this website I'm looking at. It's saying it's a mixture of experts. There's 5 experts. And even though it has 10 trillion parameters in the model, to your point around the activation of like what part of the model is actually active at certain times of when it's doing something, when you ask it a question, it kind of routes. It's like doing some little bit of internal routing.
Oh,
So
I
even though
see.
it's a 10 trillion parameter model, it's only leveraging a portion of the network to actually do the inferencing or thinking or reasoning on a portion of that. So it's big, but it also is small. And it says if you leverage, like look at the time, and it's equivalent to like 800 billion or 1.2 trillion on any one prompt. And then it also talks about like there's a memory architecture they're talking about, which is now they're introducing a new tiered attention. Have you heard about this?
No.
So tiered attention sounds like recent window context items. Like when you prompt it, the more recent the chat is, the more emphasis it gets on that.
Right.
And
Okay.
older conversations in the text that it sends to you becomes less attention, right? So you almost like waiting, like the most recent, like when we talk, we're waiting the conversation about what we're talking about and discussing right now. Like this is
right, of course, contextually, and then but you still have reference to
the old stuff, right? But it's there, but I have to like think about it and recall it to bring it back, right? What we were talking about earlier. So it sounds like this is going to now enable this tiered attention, which will open up a context window of 4 million tokens.
Well, that's better.
Like X anything else I've ever seen. I've never seen anything more than 1 million. And I didn't even, and then even then I don't even know if I've ever used all of 1 million token window anyways, and is it any good? I don't know. Like I couldn't tell you.
That's well, that brings another thing. Like when I see the 1 million token with the Opus 4.6,
Yep.
I mean I use the model, but do I want to?
Yeah.
It's like my wife takes a lot of pictures. Like a lot in the sense that we have 16 terabytes of usage in our NAS.
That's it?
Of pictures.
I think 16 terabytes. I think I think and it's accelerating. Like so like I've been collecting photos. Same thing. I'm collecting photos. I need to get a NAS because I have too much stuff sitting on computers nowadays. And so it's all the pictures and things like same. And now I'm looking at like as my devices get better, as the cameras get better, as the videos get longer, as the videos get higher quality, every year I'm almost doubling the amount of gigs I'm generating every year in just photos and videos.
But here's the thing. When we got like a 1 terabyte iPhone,
yep,
you tend to go and use it.
Yep,
but
longer.
what happens if that iPhone dies? Like if you have a 256 gig,
Yep.
yeah, you have to be constantly passing it over to the server, right? Storing it.
Correct.
If you have a 1 terabyte one, terrible issue if it dies or iCloud dies or whatever.
Yep.
But second, even if you want to transfer the pictures, like things break down. The Mac thing to transfer pictures doesn't support it. It's like it just gets stuck. It's too much.
Yes.
And
yes.
now imagine they start making these like 2 terabyte, 3 terabytes, whatever.
Oh yeah.
Then like, do you really want to use it? Same goes for context windows.
Yep.
Like 1 million context window, yes, but you're charging me a ton of money per turn because of the token usage. I'd rather have little conversations.
Correct.
And like the
kill
deep
it,
memory
start over
stuff.
Yes. Go recall like a skill, like go get it when you need it kind of thing. As opposed to loading everything. This is the same problem we have with like the MCP server, I feel like. Same, like you just turn on an MCP server. There's also a new setting I think I saw from Anthropic, which is like you can now auto detect skills when it needs to detect them, I think.
Yes, that's better. Instead of loading them.
Yeah, instead of just loading the whole thing, right? Just, hey, I have skills about this thing. And then when you ask a question, it's like, let me go look at this. Let me go look at my tools in my MCP server. So I think there's also like people are trying to solve like the whole, like we know MCP servers loading everything is not a good idea. People are ragging on it. They're like, well, we can just fix that. Like just make it a bit better. This is a crazy world we're living right now. I'm super excited about. I mean, this is all exciting to me. I'm now feel like I'm focusing on a lot more on how do I leverage this in my team? How do I get people excited about this? How do I transition other companies to start figuring out this is the way of building things net moving forward? And so that's just kind of what I'm unpacking now is like, okay, how do I transform my company? How do I rethink everything we're doing? How do we build systems across team members? Because I'm learning something at a different speed than someone else is. And the name of the game, I think there was like this hesitation around in each internal to us, and you may see it as well. People don't know where to start. And now we're getting to the place of like, well, we just need to start. We just start going. Just start learning because we'll figure out the rest later.
I think the way you put it is very true. A lot of time, especially anyone older than like 20, 15 even, will maybe not prod it as much because of that idea of, and especially like 30 and above, you feel you're going to break something. And with the models and all that, it's like, just go, like, just ask it to do stuff. If it does something that you don't want to, just guide it. It's a tool. It's not super intelligent. It's just a tool. It'll make mistakes. Guide it towards where you want it. You feel it's not going anywhere, open a new session. Start talking again. Do it another time. You want to try out multiple things. Do it in parallel. Do a bunch of them and see which one sticks. Like, it's not going to break. Right?
It's my problem now. Like now I'm like, when I look at these models and like, if it doesn't get what I want out, it was because I wasn't descriptive enough on the front side of it to get it to do what I want. So like the other thing here I'm trying to unpack is like my family. Like what does this look like for my kids? how do I start teaching them how to do things? What kind of creative things are they going to come up and develop? My son is doing some lawn mowing service. Prime availability to make an app for this. Like let's take an opportunity. Like you have a business you're trying to run, even if it's small form, but everyone's got the internet. Let's build something. Let's build something simple that's like, hey, this is a simple scheduler app. Here's when you're going to be available. We're going to set you up on our calendar. Here's the calendar. Here's the website. Bing, bing, bing. We'll put you on the. This is when we're going to do it. So we're just going to put it all on the calendar. So that way he knows and the customer knows. All this stuff can kind of be wired together. And hey, do you want to pay for your session? Right, great. Here's the Venmo link right inside your scheduled session. And when it's been paid and he acknowledges that he got paid, he'll mark off, okay, you've paid for these lawn mows. We'll just do the lawn mows, and these are the ones that you have paid for and haven't paid for. It's just a simple tracker.
For
but
sure.
This is all possible now, and I look at this going like, I want my family, particularly my offspring, my kids, to start looking at this as like, I can solve anything. I want to equip you with the tooling that makes the stuff that you thought you had to learn to get to the over the hurdle step here is not as difficult as you thought it was. And even now I'm hiring some interns from my alma mater, and what I'm teaching the interns is different than what they're learning in school. But to your point, in school they're learning from 45, 50s and 60-year-olds. Like they're not adopting this. They're not even teaching this agentic way of development and building things. And even now, so I don't know if all schools are like this. It's just maybe just the one that I'm working with right now. But like, I have a suspicion that schools are typically 5 to 10 years behind. And now the gap is feeling even wider because stuff is moving so quickly. Things are stacking up so fast now with the gains that we're getting. I'm in the position of like, I need to teach as much of my knowledge again to my audience, because that's just going to propel you that much further ahead of everyone else who's going to start learning this in like 6 months or a year from now.
Oh, for sure. And that example is great. The lawn mowing thing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of, like, take the guy that does our lawn. He has a team, right? And they come in, but they're smart because they've got most of the houses on the block.
Yeah.
So
correct.
They come once and they do like 8 houses. And so
they don't just do your yard. They just drive through each yard, like this, all across all 8 houses. Turn around.
We're sure they could do that, but they do that outside. I see, like sometimes they have to, but it's smart. It's really smart to do it that way.
Correct.
But it's still, even though they do that, it's still like, when are they gonna bill you? Did they forget to bill you? You have to ask them. Like, did you have to remember that they went that day where you weren't home? Like that sort of stuff. Still, and it's all. I have
a lawn care service. And I have a paper invoice. Like it shows up at my front, like they do the thing, they sign off the stuff and it shows up my doorknob. Yeah. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Yeah. Cause you could just build a system and have it and with mapping and everything and be like,
done.
Now, if you get more people on the block, you can see like these people are using it. Maybe you get it. Everyone gets a discount if we're all doing it together and it's all on the same day, and you can map out and you can be like, oh, there's going to be rain. We're going to move it one day, and everyone knows it's all there. You get like this, and so
100%.
You can build that in an hour with the care of doing it right.
Yes,
it'll actually take like 5 minutes to build.
Yeah,
but if you really want to do it, then and that goes for everything. Every single service-based business, can have like a micro tool like that that just saves them so much time, and it'll work. And you can
you're hitting on a point that I like here, because it's not just that for every service-based app. It's like traditionally our company's only thought about buying one or owning one or two pieces of software. Internally right now, even for my own company, I'm like, what do I pay for software-wise? What of the software can I just throw away? Any little friction I get on any feature of an app that doesn't work quite the way I want, I'm like, I could probably rebuild that. It might be better for me just to rebuild it, and then I own it full outright, and I can then talk to my agent and rebuild whatever I want. And now I put the data where I can see it, put the data where I can collect it, have more access to, like, this is incredible. So I think this is not going to, there is a bit of doom and gloom around like it's going to replace your jobs. Yes, it will. But companies aren't going to have one or two apps anymore. they're going to have 50 apps or 60 things that are all bolted together and doing very specific things. And so right now we're building like these little mini apps that do like one little tiny thing, to your point, scheduling, moving things around in a calendar. Okay, fine. But it's now going to be, okay, we don't just want one of them. We need 7 of them. And Armando, you and I are working on projects right now. This is already starting to materialize into there are already needs to have multiple apps being developed for a single business. You now need to be able to integrate them all together, but it makes it still feel like a uniform product. And that's where we're going. Like, I think that's what's happening. We're going to get, it's Javen's paradox again, right? We talked about this a number of times, right? You bring the price to build something down. You bring the price to consume something down. You just get more of it. And we're going to need more people to manage it and govern it and make it better.
Yes. And it's a balance, right? Of like, what should I build? What should I not build? What should be packaged as one versus little things? I just saw a post from a friend from a while back that owns multiple companies, and then he owns, I think, more than one software company. And he was saying, like, I don't want a super app that has everything. Like, I want a company that does one thing very well and that supports it very well. And that's another position as well. Like, the problem with having a giant app that does everything is that it might not do anything really, really well, versus having like one that's really specific, or that at least has teams for each specific thing.
Yes,
and
correct.
And then you get just a little piece, like you were saying for the models, like individualized models that work very well for that. So I don't care if the parent company owns all of them, but the fact that I could just get that part and it works well because it has a team that's completely aligned to that part, I like that part.
I think this is where we're going right now. It's going to be a lot of like little tiny things built in, like, it's almost like Lego bricks for like your apps now. Lego bricks for your company, right? What are the minimal? How can I stitch all these bricks together in a way? And now, Armando, we're talking about this as well. Any app I build has to be accessible by an agentic experience. So what does authentication look like for my agent? How do I get them in? What can they do? I'm actively working right now on some side projects where I'm saying, okay, the app is cool, I can use it, but I really want my agent now to talk directly to it, because I need the app occasionally to look at what's going on. But in reality, I don't really want to run the app. I want the agent to be like the front and center part. And so Satya just came out saying something like, I thought this was super fascinating. He's like, the business logic of businesses have traditionally been bolted into apps, the software as a service solution. And now the business logic is lifting its way out of the app and moving into the agent. Skills, MCP servers, right? So giving it the ability to store and save data, but the business logic of how my business runs is lifting its way out of the apps and into the agents. Because now I can offload reasoning. Before, it was programmatic reasoning. I programmed the reasoning into my app, and now I'm giving less programmatic instruction and letting the agent do this. I'm excited about this. Only big concern is this whole thing runs on the token economy.
Yes.
It does not matter whether you're Mythos, if you're DeepSeek, doesn't matter who you are. This whole thing is a token economy. And some people will be more efficient with their tokens, others will not be. And the recent announcement of OpenClaw blocking the API usage from Anthropic is huge, because as soon as one person does it, there's going to be a cascading effect across other tools as well, and it's going to continue pulling people out of and again, how I read this is OpenClaw was a harness that harnesses the AI. The AI is then used in that harness. Anthropic basically just said, no more, it's already abusing our systems already. We don't want you leveraging this in this way. So we're going to delete the harness. You can no longer use a third-party harness. You can only use ours moving forward. And so this is where I'm more frequently communicating to my customers and to other people, what is the harness? I have to explain the harness. What is a harness when we talk about AI? And so I think that's really going to be key. The AI is okay in and of itself, but the harness is the secret sauce. The harness is where the functionality comes from. I really got excited about OpenClaw because it did a lot of things that I just needed to do. make files, check in repos, look at code, research the internet. Like these are a lot of skills that at the time, the harnesses that were given to me didn't have that. Now, you look at what everyone else is copying, everyone's copying the pattern, right? So that's already now inside Anthropic. They've got their own
But you know
Telegram.
what? It's not there yet. Like, I really disliked Anthropic's position in that because, yes, you're subsidizing the subscriptions. So I understand you don't want to abuse, but you already put in place measures to protect from that. That's why you have sessions, the cycling 5-hour sessions and all that.
Yep, correct.
Doesn't that mean that regardless of if they're using Claude Code or they're using OpenClaw, they're going to have to stick within their session limits, and that's why I personally was using the Pro plan. And then when I started using Claude Code a lot, I have to move to the Max plan, the $100 Max plan. And then when I used OpenClaw, I had to move to the $200 Max plan. That's good for them, right? It's making people realize that they need to step up in those plans. And then maybe they're going to need to use extra usage if they go further. And I don't see what's wrong with that, right? Just keep it that way, not block it off completely and just segregate a bunch of your potential user base. Because to be honest, OpenClaw is so much better with Opus compared to Codex. It just is. It's amazingly better.
Yeah.
So now I'm stuck using OpenClaw with Codex, which is decent. Fortunately, ChatGPT just today or yesterday announced that they're doing a $100 Max plan. You don't have to do the $200 that you need to get Codex. And man, these subscriptions are expensive. We use it for work, so it's an expense, and it makes sense for what we're doing. But for regular users and they want to experience all this, it's too expensive. Like these should all work with whatever $5, $15, $20 a month plan, in my opinion, and just have limits on it. And the way we stumbled to them at the beginning, being like, I hit my limits. Well, maybe I'll just wait 5 hours, and that's fine. Or I need to pay more.
Yeah, correct.
And that's up to you, but I don't see the point of limiting it unless, like them, they are building tools to sort of emulate what the other tool did.
Yep.
Man, I
think that's what's happening. Honestly,
I tried it. It's okay, but it's not the same.
Well, let me give you another hook on this one as well. So if you want to pay separately, and we're also pay as you go method, Azure Foundry is a great opportunity here.
Yeah, I started using it.
I've been touting the powers of it for a while here, and it's kind of exciting because I really do get access to any kind of model that I want, right? I can go get. I have a model that runs DeepSeek. I have a model that's running Quinn. I have a model that's running ChatGPT 5.4. I have another model running Opus 4.6. Like so, or sorry, 6.4 or 5 or whatever the heck we're at now. I don't remember. 4.6. Yeah, that number.
Yeah.
But like to me, like this is like Microsoft. I think is definitely positioning themselves as you send your prompts to us, we run the machines, you get the answers back. And they're doing a pay to play kind of method. Whatever you use is what you pay for. I like that method. I also am not probably abusing it like I was doing when I had like a subscription-based, GitHub Copilot and use it there. I'm finding that when I do real development work, I want to use like GitHub Copilot specifically. And then my OpenClaw is like I have a mix of things there. But again, to our earlier part of the conversation, at some point there's going to be just a model router, right?
Yeah.
Connect this OpenClaw to an OpenAI endpoint that's the same pattern, right? It's the responses API or something like that. And you just send your message in, and then it just does a little bit of fancy routering, and then it says, okay, well that was a request that should be more like cheaper models. That's a request that should be more reasoning model. And then it'll just figure it out and give me the answer. So at some point, someone's going to obfuscate the models away from my chatting experience, and it will just be better. It'll just be a better model.
And by the way, I know someone who just did just that, and I don't know how much we can disclose about it, so we'll leave it for another conversation. But it has that routing capability, understanding if it should be another model or lower end model, or have fallbacks. If you run out of tokens, it could just fall back to another completely company different model, and it compresses your token usage by depending on the prompt and everything, by sometimes like 80%, 90%. And so without reducing context, which is very interesting because a lot of times we're sending out these messages that, due to the nature of the platform that you're using, will tend to be bigger, but they're not necessarily they don't have to be as big. So if you have that middleware that's sort of intercepting that, making it smaller, and then sending it to the right one, or to multiple for that matter, there you go. So and I've seen it in action. It looks good. So I'll see what details we can get from that so that we can talk about it next time. But it's
Awesome. I love it.
I think that's where it's going.
Yeah.
The first 10 trillion parameter.
So I've sent you some links, Armando.
This is a card.
This is the so the first one there is the system card for Mythos. I don't again I don't this was recently published I think by Anthropic because it's actually on their CDN right now. But it's just kind of a interesting like change log, and they just had a little bit abstract about what it is. If this is one where I would like, I'm going to point my agent at this link and say, summarize this for me. Like, what's going on here? What interesting things should I be talking about based on this paper? I don't really read anything anymore, honestly. My next, Armando, I'm going to ask you the question. Like, you've probably already done this. You're probably way better than me in this area. I would expect this to be like, you're like, oh yeah, we're there. You just need to catch up, Michael. Have you heard the concept of second brain?
Second brain, yeah.
Yeah.
I knew what you were going to say.
You knew it.
Yes.
How do you, I want to learn from you here. Like, do you use it? Is it effective for you? Like, I'm finding the inundation of like GitHub repos and post on X.
There's too many.
There's too many. And I can't keep it all together. And I want to just funnel everything to like I want to share button to a single thing and have it index it all and provide summaries of what I found for that throughout the day. Because I feel like I'm learning it and losing it faster than I can absorb it.
Yeah. For me, there's two main players here. There's the Nate B. Jones side of Second Brain, which is called Second Brain, which sort of connects everything together. And it's really neat. And I think he did a really good job of it. And it's up there on GitHub. And I really like his videos. Like, he's very down to earth and just explains everything very clearly and is always up to date.
What's the name again?
Nate B. Jones. So if you search on YouTube for Nate B. Jones, AI News and Strategy Daily, that's the name of the channel. It's at Nate B. Jones.
Okay.
And he has the repo called Second Brain. It's there's a guide on his website on how to set it up, but then there's also the actual repo somewhere. Awesome. I don't know where it is, but look for it. That's an interesting one. But the second one, which is very interesting, is the one from Karpathy, right? So the wiki version of it, that's sort of like a knowledge graph kind of thing via Obsidian. You don't really need Obsidian, but that's how you visualize it. I really like that one. That's because it's very simple. It's all markdown files. And they're all interrelated or interlinked. And so it does work like a little brain because it's a wiki at the end of the day. But the way it's set up, I feel, gives the LLM the possibility to talk to it and gain very quick answers to things across hundreds of documents or thousands of documents, depending on how you set it up, with relevance versus a regular vector store, which is only semantic search, but there's no relation search. So I think the best of three worlds is having RAG with semantic search or vector search, VM25 search for like free text search for keywords and things like that, and then knowledge graph. Like if you have the combination, I think is great. But it's very hard to build the whole thing in multiple platforms and tools, and it becomes a mess. So I think this approach of having that sort of based wiki thing that the agents can talk to is great because you can visualize it in something like Obsidian. You see all the links across things. You see nodes that are bigger or smaller based on how many connections they have across things. So then you can find information based on relevance across the different topics, not only if the word or contextual semantic meaning of the phrases. So I like that one. I'm leaning towards using that more, especially my main question with that one was, how about PDFs? Like, what if I need to ingest other types of files? But then the other repo I sent you, the deep, I don't know, whatever it's called, it was like an ingestion thing for PDFs. It does OCR and everything, and that looked like an amazing thing. So if you put that in your flow, then great, because now you can have this ingestion flow. You drop your files wherever you want, like a bin, and they just go in there, get ingested, put into your wiki, and then it's just used for everything, and then everything is interrelated, and you can use it for your personal notes, your reminders, things you have to do, and then also the work things, and so that's...
You're blowing my mind right now.
I don't know.
I'm
it's a lot, but
feeling
I think it's...
I'm feeling like this is now becoming like another page in Content Nudge that we're going to need to add here shortly, which is like,
yeah, for
like
sure.
it's almost like a chat, like an only window. Like, hey, here's a chat window. You just put in like, here's a document. I put it in. Here's a link that I want you to go research. And so, but the value of this, I think, is it's like two parts, right? It's almost like so Grok has this feature that I really like right now. I don't know if do you use Grok at all for like the Grok
Not
website?
really.
Okay.
Not really.
Grok has
it,
this.
but
Maybe other agents are doing this too, but I'm finding I like it. The ease of use of this, the feature inside Grok seems to be the easiest. I just started playing with Microsoft 365 agents a little bit more. And it has this idea, like there's this one agent called the research agent. And you could just give it like a URL and it's supposed to go do research and then come back with some answers, right? So something like that.
Right.
And then I like Grok because it's had this thing called projects. And a project is like all the pre-prompting. Like, hey, every conversation I have in this project follows the same standard initialized prompt.
Okay.
Right? So I have one where I write a lot of songs. I'm doing a lot of songs on Suno. So I have made a project in Grok that's all about how do I want to write, what's the structure of the information I want to send to it over and over again to make a song, right? I want a song that has 4 verses. I want it to be short. I want it to be super catchy. I want it to have a lot of hooks in it. Repeat the phrase in the chorus multiple times. Like I'm already finding what works for me and how I build like my system. Yeah. And so I'm now looking to like have these, call it quote unquote projects set up where I can define some, hey, I'm going to start a conversation, but I need you to have initial context of what I want you to do with this conversation. Yeah. Right. And so I'm finding that valuable. And now I want like, okay, I don't want to have to tell it every time when I send it a link. I just want to send it like a word like research link. And then it knows Mike wants to research this. Yeah. Provide this, and this type structure. Right. Stick it in either a vector store or a graph database or like, whatever the thing it needs to do, right? I just want to throw things over the wall at it. Yes. And just have it work, right? And then, I'm also thinking here too, like, as I'm looking at these things and reacting to them and reading them, and like I'll read through a part of an article and be like, okay, that's kind of interesting. I like this point. That point stood out to me. I'd also like to take that knowledge and say, okay, I'm going to give you the research item. And then I'm going to say, I found this and this and this interesting. Now write me a post that uses my points of interest, research my points of interest, look at those points of interest against what you just researched on the topic, and formulate me like a summary, a 2 or 3 sentence summary about what that is in my language or how I would say it, right? Something like that. So taking almost like my spin and kind of like, how do I volley the information back and forth with the agent very rapidly? And then boom, okay, great. Now it's saved, it's stuck away in the library. And now it has a couple different reference points, right? The article, the summary, my thoughts, what I thought was interesting. And all of those pieces kind of inform like this second brain of mine, which is like, I can now just randomly throw articles and my opinions against stuff, which helps me formulate new opinions and new ideas moving forward. So that's kind of where I'm like, I want to have something that does this. I don't really have a tool that I feel does this well. And on the other hand, I don't want to pay for it. I don't want to pay for like a Notion or integrate another. I already have, this is one of my big burns right now is I have a lot of tools in Microsoft Stack. I'm a Microsoft guy. You're more of a any kind of stack guy, which is great.
Whatever.
Whatever works for you. But again, I like the idea of like, I've already spent the money to pay for Loop. I've already spent the money to pay for agents inside Microsoft. I mean, that's the stack that I'm building in. So why can't I leverage those things to build what I want? And what I'm finding now is it does some of what I want, but it doesn't do everything of what I want. And Microsoft, I don't think is going to build that. They're going to give you more of like the Lego bricks of what you want. So going to like a Notion or something that's very deeply integrated, I've just been playing with Manus AI, which is now owned by Facebook or Meta, I guess would be appropriate. Not Facebook, it's Meta that owns them. Very interesting, good product. But I'm constantly challenged with the fact that it feels like I'm sticking myself in yet another box. Yeah. It's an interesting tool. It does good stuff, but now I'm stuck in another box. And I don't want the whole advantage of this AI thing is I want it to be all shareable and distributable across everything.
Yeah. That's why I like the wiki approach, because it's just standard files and
Yeah.
linking. Like, it's pretty old school when you look at it, and very
Yeah.
simple. I think Karpathy is very like down to the basics and figuring out how you can make it the smallest possible with the
Yep.
functionality that you need.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very interesting approach, which you can put anywhere. You
Yeah.
can just use your blob storage and then just like
Yeah.
link
Well,
files.
and we had a really big success recently with the app that we were building, which is, now we can store videos, and I can now store text, and I can now store transcripts on things. So like already Fabric is really becoming like the back end of my apps that I'm really enjoying. SQL databases for storing structured information. There's other databases coming here in Fabric very soon, like Postgres and other data sources. So I want to continue to build on this to see like, okay, what do these different tech stacks look like? I have Cosmos DB inside Fabric. Excellent. So if Cosmos DB is there, how efficient is that able to run? I can actually do storage. I mean, that's like, MongoDB level stuff. Like it's just little file storage and a query engine on top of it. Potentially would give me a lot of value there as well. So I'm really evaluating again, like really sitting back and saying like, as a business owner, when I step back and say, how do I leverage all this stuff for my advantage? I don't like the shared subscription models across everything. I need everything to be integrated together. And at the end of the day, I want all the data to live in a pile, at least where I can touch it.
And
So
that's yours.
that's mine.
Yeah.
That's like that's the IP about what I want to do, right? So that's kind of like the secret sauce. And so when we go into this whole like everything is hyper personalized, right? Hyper personalization is the way we do business and works. If your app can't hyper personalize what you want to build, I don't think it's a good app anymore. Right?
Yeah.
That's the new tech stack that we're going to need to build in.
Yeah. It's so easy to make things now, but it's also hard because you have to like figure out what you want to do and how you want to do it more than.
Yep.
But simple. I think it's the KISS principle.
Yep.
Is more important than ever. The other day I was talking with a client we have in India. We've worked together for years now. And we've always had the discussion across, we're talking about other stuff, but it always comes up that we've changed task management tooling on each side. It's like, oh, now I use Notion, and now I use this other thing, and now I use this other, like everywhere, right?
It was Jira,
like,
now it's
nothing
GitHub.
fits. Now it's Jira and Asana, and like nothing works. Now, I use a pencil and paper.
Yes.
Like that's the one that works.
Yeah.
And like stickies and text edits. Well, that always happens, and I've had this discussion with other people and yourself. And so he comes, he says, super like basic thinking. He says, you know what I'm doing now? I figured it out. I'm just using Claude. So he's just telling Claude, this is what I need to do. And he just like, okay. And then Claude just keeps a task list for him. So now whenever he needs to make a task, he just tells Claude and it adds to a list. And then whenever he completes something, he just tells Claude and it completes it. And now he has a log of all the tasks that have been completed and in all different aspects of things. And I was like, that's really smart. Super basic. Like you're just telling your agent, and that could be any agent, doesn't really matter, as long as it has the context, and you can switch agents if you wanted to, because I don't know how he's doing it, but I would do it like with a repo, similar to what we've done with GitHub.
Yep.
Such that it's all there, it's trackable, changes are trackable, and you can switch agents, doesn't really matter. It'll just keep track of all of these and check the ones that need to, like to your point that we've discussed many times, like GitHub projects.
Mm-hmm.
That could be your source of truth of like all your tasks across many things, but then just talk to it via agents. And so you no longer need tooling that works like task lists. It's just, as long as you have somewhere you can store the text or the whatever, whether it's an MD file or a JSON file or on a GitHub repository. It doesn't have to be GitHub even. It could just be like files on a Git repository. That's all you need. And then you can interact with it. But it's just a smart way to do it. And it can even take times and all the time management stuff. Like you just say like, okay, now I'm starting work on this. That's it. It just needs to store this timestamp and what you're doing. And then later on, you just say, hey, I finished. And then if you ever want to visualize it or get a report, you just say, hey, how much time did I spend on XYZ project? Just grab everything and give you the response.
What did I do?
No app, no nothing. It's just...
Yes. I want to extrapolate your idea because I love this idea. Why do we build UI for anything anymore? This reminds me of an idea that someone had a while ago, which was someone was talking about like their treadmill, and they wanted to like, hey, I'm gonna be healthier, and they basically said, look, I want to just start. This was very early in the days. This was like in January timeframe where I was just starting to explore this. I'm like, oh yeah, this is reformulating how I think about things. And so the premise was, I have an app, a treadmill that's connected to the internet, has some sort of information in it. It's probably hard to get it out. It wasn't the easiest thing to do, but he's like, I just want to track my usage. I want to make like a goal tracky something, whatever that thing is. And he basically said, every company is working too hard to build the UI that is pretty and easy to use and meets all the customer needs. That's the challenge. As soon as he started moving away from the company that, like, and so you are moving away from what the company built UI-wise, and started accessing just the data, he could have his own goals, his own preference, his own style, his own and this is where part of it started formulating. He's like, I built this entire health tracking app, and I could do whatever I wanted to do with it, and it did everything I needed to. And while the agent is involved in the story, the agent wasn't the end all be all. Right? The agent was kind of more of like the reasoning thing that was able to, kind of pull all the pieces together and make it easy to use. And so to your point, Armando, like the agents aren't going to be the health tracking app, but the agents will help you build the pieces of efficient hardware, software stuff that let you get to the app that you want. And then to your point here as well, like, again, this is like your partner here is using Claude Code as like a second brain, right? Hey, I'm just going to throw things at you. It's going to act like an employee an assistant at my company. It's going to say, oh yeah, I know how to do this. And then when I say, I need to do this today, it understands the context. It reasons about that, and then uses something under the hood that's like the database, the storage, the file system, the GitHub, the things that don't cause the agent to like spin and churn and be very expensive, right? So I'm looking at this going like, we need to stop, or the shift is starting to happen where we stop building UI and software. And all we need to build is APIs and backend and storage of data. Like that's how we should be interacting, so that way our agents understand what it is, and then we can describe to the agent, here's the data, here's the system behind the scene, I need you to build this, and then it goes out and builds the front end that I need that works for me. And I'm looking at this across my entire business, right? This is why I'm like burning down every piece of software. Anywhere data is stored that I can't get my hands on it easily, I'm like, let's burn that down. Let's build my own. I can stick it in Fabric. I have full control of all the data storage there. Boom, done. And so now I'm doing more and more of this, and it's accelerating for me. I'm looking at more opportunities in that space. And so I love this idea. And now I think about this and react to it and say, well, that's great. I would love the same thing. Well, how do we build a skill around this? How do we build something that's like transportable across our whole team? How do I get visibility to, again, looking at this is my task manager of things I need to do today, things that are important. I want the agent to help me reason about what should I spend my time on.
Yeah.
Here's what do I have to do today?
Yes.
What's my backlog look like?
That's
right?
Because we're very bad at prioritizing.
Yeah. I just want to give
general.
And it can give me a first pass. I mean, it's not going to be perfect every time, but I just want a first pass at like, what's good? And then I go from there.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Because it's all there. That's the important thing, that the data is there, but that now access to the data
becomes paramount.
It's just
and access to the data, not only for me, but access to the data for the agent. Like that's, to me, that's the next hook. That's the next thing we've got to figure out how to do. And a lot of the only reason you're talking about markdown, the only reason you're talking about like these databases, the only reason you're describing these things is because that's ways you get access to the information. And how do we do the vector graph database store, whatever second brain you want to call it. I'm now more focused than ever of being very mindful of where does the information land. How do I get myself to have access to it? How do I get my agent to have access to it? That's more of what I'm shifting to. And I'm also bringing this up too, Armando, because I wanted to talk to you about this as well. I wanted to give you an insight that my bot did when I asked it to add agents to Content Nudge.
Okay.
So I'm trying to find the organization real quick here. so I can go get the repo and clone it because I had it write some instructions. And I wanted to read you some of the instructions that it directly made for me. So hang on one second. Let me pull this down here.
While you're doing that, it's where before I would see a software as something very abstract and like someone told you have to look into a software that you didn't build.
Yep.
It's like I don't want to tackle that.
Mm-hmm.
Or you have to do a database migration kind of thing. All that is very tricky and slippery, right?
Mm-hmm.
But over the past few weeks, it's become more of a I mean, the shell. It's just a shell.
Yeah.
I mean, shell.
Yeah.
Not a
Less
shell like a terminal, but more like a shell. It's
less
like,
intimidating.
yeah,
It's a wrapper.
it's just a wrapper around the data, and if you
It's like
understand the data and you look at it, and you can have the agents help you understand the data. It's like, yeah, we just because we're rebuilding a client of ours has this app that he wanted to rebuild for years, but because it was using one of those no-code platforms, and it wasn't scalable.
Well, so
did you find your?
I did find it.
Okay, tell me.
All right. So this is what it. So the context of what I was discussing with the agent was like, hey, I have an app, I have a backlog, and I don't want to go to the UI to build stuff. I want you, the agent, like this is like I want you to be able to access it with like a secure way. So not authenticating as me, the user. I want a dedicated agent path to go authenticate. So we're kind of reasoning through like what would this look like? How will we build it? Right. So it's doing what I think it should be doing, right? Hey, we want to have, an auth token thing, right? We want to have a separate endpoint where you can send the token in, and then it checks the token, and the token identifies like what team you belong to, and all these other like good security things. It also talks a lot about like scoping. Hey, we should actually add scopes, right? There's these Kanban cards on the page, so we should be giving it a scope of like read only. So hey, this agent has a token, and this token is only for read only cards. This is for modify. This is for create. And you basically give it the right of scopes you want. And again, good best practice for minimum authorization parameters. I'm liking all this language here. And the one thing that kind of struck me as interesting as it was reading, and this is, I think, GPT 5.4 is what I was using here. And it says, let's see if I'm looking through the chat thread here. It describes the goal to me here a little bit. And then, hold on, we keep going back here a bit further on. Okay. Was doing some data modeling suggestions. Okay, so it talks about the best architecture, provide a stable task model, add simple actions via APIs, clear agent-safe metadata, add an audit trail so whatever the agent does, you can see it. I'm like, okay, yeah, I agree. This is where it said it got better for me. It says, in planning this, you should think about like what you want it to do. A column has an ID, a title, and a position. The cards on the different columns, right? So done, to do, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever there's in the column names, right? It has to be able to describe the columns, and it has to understand what's in the card. And it's like, ID, title, description. That's kind of what I was thinking.
Right.
But then it said, I suggest to you to add other custom fields to the cards. So the agent has additional context as to like why you're doing what you're doing. And I thought this was very insightful because, again, I was going back to like my second brain idea, which is like, wow, this is a really interesting article. I found it on X. I want to give the link to my agent and say, add this to the backlog for the Explicit Measures podcast or whatever. And it said you should think about adding like an impact field, how much effort this would be, what would be the category of this field? Do you have a target platform or content type or a business goal, right? And it said, if you really want to build a strong backlog, we would add fields like, what is the audience? What problem is this solving? What is the format you want to use? Is there any additional source material? What confidence would you have in this kind of content? And then is there a next action? And I found this to be very insightful because I was really focusing on like, I have the problem of I'm collecting all these ideas across the internet, and I'm trying to build a show around basically idea-based, right? So the show's ideas. We talk, we sit, we explain ideas together on the show, we unpack all these ideas, and it adds value for people who are understanding and thinking through these similar scenarios, problems, or solutions. Right. But these additional data fields were like, wow, this actually really does add additional context. And so instead of me just saying topic, description, summary of URL, it's giving me a lot more around helping me unpack like which backlog items are actually solving problems.
Yes.
What problem are we trying to
Right.
address? And that's much more impactful, I thought. I'm like, wow, this was really neat to kind of go through this exercise.
Yes.
So while I was thinking of just solving like my simple second brain problem, it was actually giving me like better context around what I should really be thinking about, which is impactful backlog management and subscription. So that's like, wow, this is really neat. So I'm still unpacking it. I'm still working on the feature, but it gave me a lot more to think about. And it gave me all the standard stuff like, hey, you need to have a get, post,
Right.
patch, right? There's all these different commands for the APIs. I'm like, great, cool. So I want to just get the basics in place first, but then now it's adding a bunch of these other details. And I'm already seeing in this initial phase of just thinking through it with an
Right.
agent,
Right.
I'm already going, dang, my initial feature of Kanbans and backlogs was actually insufficient
Yeah.
to what really needs to be thought about. And this is what I should be thinking about. And so, okay, now let's think about this more. So I'm going to implement this with your approval because we're working on this together.
It sounds amazing.
Well, I'm going to implement it, but then it will now immediately funnel into, cool, now that we've done this,
Now everything else gets.
now
Yeah.
I got to like think about everything else I'm doing now, because now I'm like, I'm not going to want to type anything in manually at all. I'm only going to add items in the backlog by using my agent now.
Right.
A new problem
'Cause
I'm going to have.
It can abstract all that metadata and put it
Correct.
in real
Yep.
time versus
Correct.
you typing each
Yeah,
of
I don't have to think of it all. Like now, it just literally shifted my entire
Nice.
mindset away from
Nice.
I'm not just dropping down a title and description. Like, actually, I have to like really think through and reason through this. And if I did drop down a title and description, how do I take that minimal amount of information and then let the agent say, okay, you need to go unpack all the minimally viable backlog items, enrich them with this extra information, and then let me evaluate and then prioritize them and pull them into a schedule. So like I was like, wow, this is so neat. And also, I'll pause here just a minute. Armando, like you have the Web Talk show. How are you planning that one? Are you using Content Nudge for your planning yet? Or are you doing something separately at this point?
By the way, I have to. She's calling again. But yeah, no, it's funny because the Web Talk show is all improv.
The whole thing. No, oh, wow.